Same thing.
All right. Okay, so today I wanted to create this presentation, this like seminar, just because I felt that some people might need to hear it. That when you play MapleStory, it's pretty confusing. It's a Korean MMORPG. There's a lot of content. There's a lot of systems going on, and not everyone knows everything, and it's pretty difficult. So I compiled a spreadsheet. I mean, not a spreadsheet, a slideshow for you guys today, where we can go through it. We will talk about stuff like gear. We'll talk about stuff like accounts and just etc. So I decided to start playing this stupid mushroom game, and now I'm addicted. And how the hell do I play this game correctly? Every player at some point. So let's start with the table of contents. So I'll go over a quick introduction about myself. We'll talk about gear, stuff like what is the gear that you should be going for, flames, how they work, cubes, how they work. We just had DMT, so this is probably a hot topic for a lot of you guys, and star forcing as well. And then for accounts, we'll talk about your main, your mules, your links, and your legion, and then just some other stuff regarding that as well. And then for the etc., this is just other stuff that I really wanted to talk about and have you guys be able to take a listen in on was stuff like guild contributions. How do I help out the guild? Boss etiquette, things about like sometimes when you get carried for a boss, it's a little bit confusing on what to do. So just a little bit of etiquette about that. Time commitments of the game, events because they happen all the time, familiars, which are those little monsters that follow you around and they give you stats. But we'll go more into detail about that. The inner ability, if time permits, because I know we only have an hour and a half. Hello, Martin, if you can mute up, and then you can also just unmute it if you want to ask any questions. Appreciate it. And then personal thoughts at the end. All right, so my name is Jason. I'm 23 years old. I'm a Korean American. I live in Boise, Idaho. I went to college at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I mastered in accounting. The games I play are Maple, Osu, Melee, Super Specialist Melee, and Guilty Gear. And for my Evan, that's my main in MapleStory on Reboot. I'm level 257. I play the class Evan. I have 40k stat. My BA is 6 trillion. That's this 40-second battle analysis. And yeah, I'm built different. So at the bottom, you can see here, it says questions can be asked after each slide. Honestly, just pop in whenever you feel like it. And whenever you have a question, I don't mind answering it whenever. So moving on to gear. All right. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll start with gear. We'll talk about the best in slot, the fodder gear, and the min-max dilemma. So let's actually just get started right into it. So we'll go top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, kind of like that. So what is what is BIS? It stands for best in slot. A lot of people throw around this term, and sometimes people just don't know it, just jargon. How much does best in slot matter? When you look at most high level players, they're probably rocking the same gear for a reason. So I said here that like for most slots, like for instance your hat, shoulder, etc. There's a specific piece of gear that will fit into that slot for a reason. It might be a set effect. It might be because it gets the best flames. It gets the best stat. It's just the obvious next step in your progression. So best in slot really does matter in this game, to answer the question. It's kind of min-maxed in a way, but also it's there for a reason. People have done the math. It's not always too difficult to get, so best in slot does matter. What should I prioritize for my best in slots? You can't do damage without a weapon. So most people talk about your WSE, your weapon, secondary, and emblem. WSE is just an acronym or an initialism for those three terms: weapon, secondary, and emblem. So you'd want to start with your weapon, your secondary, and your emblem because those can roll better stats on potential lines, which is cubing that will be talked about in the future. This is a personal recommendation for prioritization. I do recommend accessories as a secondary thing. If you're like a new character, you want to progress in the game. And what do you need to progress in MapleStory? You need money. You need mesos. So accessories have the ability to roll percent item drop and percent meso obtained. And because meso is king in Reboot, it's what you use to upgrade your gear, it's what you use to upgrade your symbols, it's what you use for a lot of things in MapleStory, right? You're basically investing your money into your accessories so that you can get money back out of those accessories. It's just a payoff, an initial investment for a big payout in the future. And then what is the general set prioritization as you go from, I guess, a new player to a more late game player? It would be CRA, which is your Chaos Root Abyss gear. It's actually, with my mouse, if you can see, these two pieces of gear right here that I'm circling. You're going to go to Absolab next, and then you're going to go into Arcane. Those are the three sets that you'll probably be seeing and hearing about as you go into MapleStory. So when do I start getting these pieces of gear? CRA, very early. Absolab, you do Scrapyard and Dark World Tree. Get those weeklies out of the way. You do Lotus Damien, and you can get the coins for Absolab. And Arcane, you get droplets through Arcane River. You get the big droplets, per se, from Lucid and Will. So you get them as soon as you get into level 200, essentially. Fodder gear. This is something that's actually very important that a lot of people just don't realize is a thing. The fodder gear concept starts from the transfer hammer. And the transfer hammer is a tool that the game gives you so that you can give stats to other pieces of gear if it's within 10 levels of if the lower piece of gear is within 10 levels of the higher gear. So what is fodder gear? Gear that is 10 levels below, within 10 levels below the gear that you are trying to upgrade. What is the purpose of fodder gear? Because it's a lower level, when you star force it, it's cheaper per star, right? So you just spend less money. May have better flame possibilities. That's why people talk about the Papulatus mark all the time, because it gets better flames because it comes from a boss, which we'll go into the future later. And then the next one is it's usually easier to get in large quantities. Let's take this one, for example, this boot right here. I'm guessing that not a lot of you have probably seen this boot. It's a very common boot that people use to transfer hammer this boot into Absolab boots. The reason why is because it's 150 and Absolab boots are 160, right? That 10 level difference. You can get hundreds of these because you get them from CRA. The CRA coins, that little blue coin that drops when you kill a CRA boss, you can buy these in the CRA Root Abyss area shop. So you can get a lot of them. So what should you prioritize with fodder gear? Because you don't exactly need to upgrade these, you just have to have a lot of them, right? So the general rule of thumb is to at least have 5 for your upgrades. So like say I want my Absolab gear to go to 17 stars, but I don't want to boom my Absolab boots. Let's just have these boots right here and then have 5 of them just in case I boom some, right? And then where do I get these pieces of gear? You can get this cape right here, 150 cape. You can get it from Chaos Zac. 150 cape will go into a 160 Absol cape. You can get CRA, the boot right here that I was talking about earlier. Papulatus for the pap mark over here. Commercy. Kind of forgot why I put this here. Let's just skip this one for now. And etc. Ron Maru drops his shoulder. It's a 150 shoulder. And then you can put into an Abso shoulder, which is 160. Keeping the level 10 rule in mind. So, min-max dilemma. The last topic of gear. What's up?
Yeah. Are you gonna share us the slides? Because I really actually enjoyed that last slide. Can I
Yeah. I will. I will put these slides into the events channel after we're done today. How's that sound?
Oh, right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Okay. So the min-max dilemma. This is a bit interesting because a lot of people, when they play MMOs or games, grindy games in general, they're very min-maxy. They get very sweaty. They get very like, oh, if I don't do it perfectly this way, it's not going to be satisfying, or I'm going to regret it later. But take this with a grain of salt, meaning like don't take my words as truth, but sometimes it's fine to not be optimal. MapleStory is a game where it's like you're not playing against anyone else. You're not doing PvP. You don't have to be the best of the best, right? You're fighting fucking monsters in like Choo Choo Island. You're fighting apples, for God's sake, right? Like it doesn't exactly. It's not that you don't have to push yourself to the limits with this game. You're in a PvE environment, player versus environment. So I'm just saying this because so many people that I've met have burned out. The keyword is burned out because they felt like they needed to get XYZ in a certain amount of time. They needed to be the best of the best in a certain amount of time, and they felt like the game wasn't providing them what they wanted because honestly, this game has very punishing upgrade systems, and I feel like Jamie can attest to that. So, but the min-max dilemma essentially is play the game at your own pace, have fun, don't mind other people, and do what you got to do. If you want to get stronger and you want to skip a day of dailies, you can do that. It's all right. All right, so that's gear. Let's talk about flames. Let's get into the specifics of what makes gear gear. What's up, Carlo? Thanks for muting. If you want to ask any questions, feel free to unmute and just go ahead and ask. And I'll also be sharing these slides later. All right, so flames. You know these little rocks, red, rainbow, and black that you put on your gear? They actually have a little bit of background going on with them. So we got boss flames. What the heck is a boss flame? Basically, any gear that drops from a boss, excluding Golux, has potentially higher stat value when you roll flames on them. So, what does that mean? Let's look at this picture right down here in the bottom left, this Dominator pendant, right? It has 7% all stat and 84 luck. These are the two stats we're going to look at. If we throw it into a flame score calculator, we get 143.5 flame score. If we look at the superior Golux belt, remember how I said boss flames excluding Golux stuff? Golux for some reason is not a KMS boss, so it doesn't get the love of boss flames. It's just weird how they do it, but let's look at this. Imagine that this had 32 luck. I fucked up. It's supposed to be not Night Lord and not luck. But let's say it did have 32 luck, right? The flame score would be 32. Obviously, 143.5 is greater than 32. Hopefully you can do that math, but in the end, boss flames are better than regular flames. So then what the heck is a flame score? You're telling me this number here, but what does it mean, right? It is a community-developed metric, a measurement system of figuring out how to numerically evaluate flames. So by saying 84 and 7, 84 right here and then 7 right here, we get a score of this. Now we know that this score is better than this score. So if you say I have a 150 score item versus a 140 score item, you know without even looking at the stats that your score is better. So then the next question is, what the heck is a good flame score? A good flame score is based on the item. Certain gear can get better flames because they're higher level, right? So like if I flame like a level 90 piece of crap weapon, right? It's not going to get the same flame as a level 200 arcane staff. It's not the same. But you'll learn as you go. And also, this is a very easy question to ask in the guild. Is this a good flame, right? And also, there's a calculator right here. I'll be posting the slides later. There's a calculator right here. You can check for yourself. I got 130 flame score on a certain piece of gear. I can just double check it. Double check to see if the stats actually add up to something that seems pretty good for yourself. All right. Next question. Getting flames. Where the heck do you even get these things if they're so good and they give you all these stats? They come from bosses. So if you do your weeklies and your daily bosses, you'll find probably around an average of 1 to 2 for your daily bosses and 5 for your weekly bosses. If you're lucky, you get a lot more, but I was lowballing there. So you also get them through events. This Pink Bean event has a lot of them. You can find red flames, rainbow flames, and black flames. You can also find them in the meso shop of the event store, but I do not recommend that because it's way too expensive. You probably see the price yourself. You'll be like, that's not worth it. And then the Legion shop. The Legion shop does have flames. But they are also kind of expensive since you need Legion coupons, EXP, Meso, just a bunch of other stuff. You need to upgrade your Legion sometimes. It costs a lot of Legion coins. You don't get them really quickly. Yada, yada, yada. You guys can probably figure out the math for yourself. Cost benefit. All right, so that's Flames. Any questions on Flames real quick? I'll take that as a no. All right, moving on to cubes. So, cubes are these little 4 things at the top. We got red, black, Master Craftsman's cube, and then Meister cube. So, what are cubes and how do I use them? Or when do I use them? Cubes are used to reroll your potential lines. I'll actually go to this page right here and double check, show you what a potential line looks like. So, courtesy of Oxo, a friend of mine, a battle mage, if we look here at the bottom right here with my mouse, you can see it says potential, legendary, boss, monster damage 35%, magic tech 10, magic tech 10. You guys just went through DMT, so I'd imagine you guys know what a cube is. So when do I use cubes? That's for DMT. You can use, I'm actually going to go to DMT a bit more. So what is DMT? DMT is Double Miracle Time, and it is an event that MapleStory rolls out probably twice a year, where they make it so that when you use a cube from the cash shop, i.e. a red cube or a black cube, the cube has double the success chance of tiering up your item, right? And also a really low chance of being able to double tier up from rare to unique, from epic to legendary. So it skips 2, right? So how can I utilize this event? Save money. If you need to upgrade gear or tier up gear, then you use this event to roll black cubes on epic items to make them to get to legendary. So that's not the only thing about cubes. You want lines on them that are relevant, right? So let's talk about prime lines, since this is a very commonly misunderstood topic. What is a prime line? Prime lines, going back to the examples, let's look here. Let's look at this hat, right? It says 12, 6, 9, right? Do you guys notice how the 12 for the int is higher than the 9? That's because your first line on every single potential that you roll is going to be prime, right? So that means it's just a slightly better than a regular line. So that means 12% magic tech is better than 9% magic tech. 12% prime line, 9% not prime line, right? So if we look at the shoulder, for example, it says 13, 13, right? If he didn't roll 13 here, and if he rolled a prime line for the first one, which is guaranteed, and he didn't for the third one, his third one would be 10%. So it's 13, 13, he actually rolled double prime line. So he got 26% in. Pretty good, right? The question is, though, are they worth going for? So I have to say, no, they're not worth going for at all. I will show you later that the price for going for prime lines is actually very expensive, and you'll see very shortly. Okay, so let's go through the rarities. We got rare, epic, unique, legendary, and then we got the cost, the tier ups, the chance, etc. You can find this below. I have the resource for the speculated tier up chances, since they're not specifically given by Nexon. So let's just go into an example of estimated meso cost. So we're going to use the Absolab boot as an example, a 160 piece of gear, and in this case it's epic going to legendary. No DMT, right? And then the difference between the left picture and the right picture is that they're not, one's going to use reds and one's going to use black cubes. So this is going to show the difference in what costs less to get the same tier up, right? So the Absolab boot 160 using red cubes on average costs 700 mil, and it will cost on average it'll take around 57 red cubes, right? And on the right we got the same boot, same epic to legendary. We're gonna use black cubes instead. 652%. 652 million mesos, and then only 29 black cubes. So if you can just look from left to right, you can see the cost is a bit different. It's like 50 mil. Save money here and there as much as you can, right? I also have the resource down here if you want to check for yourself on certain pieces of gear. All right, now we're going to throw DMT into the equation. If we look immediately at the mesostat for each one, right, it's like half the fucking cost. We go from 700 to 350 here, right? 713 to 350. We go from 650 to 337. It is so worth your time to tier up your gear on DMT. All right. Any questions here, or you guys? I'm gonna take the silence as a good thing. All right, moving on then. Let's talk about prime lines as an example. So when you get an item to legendary, you don't need black cubes anymore because black cubes are used for tier ups, right? You're just gonna roll as cheap as you can, right? So we're gonna use red cubes. So let's take a 3-line ab slab boot. Let's imagine this really quickly, right? So the first line is 13% strength, 10% strength, 10% strength on legendary. That is 1 prime line, 2 regular lines. 13, 10, 10, right? Any stat, but 13, 10, 10. So for the first boot, right on the left, it will cost 12 billion mesos to go for 13, 10, 10. So that seems like a lot of money, but it gets worse. Say you want 2 prime lines, right? You want 13, 13, 10, right? You're using the same cubes. It's the same piece of gear, right? So it's going to cost the same. It goes up to 125 billion mesos. You don't got that money. No one's got that money. No one's trying to shoot for this because it's not worth it. Case in point, prime lines, the only one you'll ever go for in your life is double prime line crit damage on your gloves, because crit damage is OP and it is the only one that's worth going for. Everything else, trash. Don't go for percent stat. Go for percent damage on the gloves. Gloves specifically. Alright, so that's enough about cubes. Let's move on to Star Forcing. So, what is Star Force and how do I get it? Star Force, simply enough, a way to increase the stat of your gear. How do you do it? You hit the red button on the inventory and it pulls up this menu on the right. Okay. So I skipped a slide. Alright, so Star Force stats and costs. I have 3 examples here on screen because they're different, 3 different ranges that you'll probably find yourself in starring up your gear. So there's like the 1 to 10 stars. It's relatively cheap, probably like 1 to 1 million mesos per attempt at enhance, and you get like 3 all stat. It's not much, right? Moving on, once you get 15 stars and up, you start to get magic attack and attack power. You start to get like stuff that actually gives you a lot of stat, makes your character a lot stronger, right? And then when you go to 21 stars, every star you're getting like 16, right? It's a lot. It adds up because you got 20 stars, right? For example, the Golux earrings in the middle probably give me, I'd say like 17 to 19 attack. The one on the right gives me 69. Funny number, but it's a lot more. So, if we also look in the pink boxes here, it costs exponentially more as you go higher. So you're going to want to use the events that MapleStory gives you to make this easier on yourself, right? You can, at the resource at the bottom, you can see how much it'll cost you for Star Forcing. It'll give you like a huge menu. You can select what you want from the conditions of the item, and then you'll be able to calculate how much it costs. So we got the Star Forcing event itself, right? We got 3 of them that come up pretty frequently, honestly, in MapleStory. We got 5, 10, 15. We got 1+1, and we got 30% off. 5, 10, 15. Actually, everything in the left column is an explanation of what the event is. So on 5, 10, 15, the 5-star, the 10-star, and the 15-star are at 100% success rate. In my opinion, this is the best event. There's 1+1. Each success equals 2 stars up to 10. So when you also get to 10 and you succeed, you get 12, right? So then you'll be at 12 stars. All right. And then 30% off. All Star Forcing is 30% off. So then what the heck's the best one? Why is it the best one? How much money do I save? Whatever. I'll get into it. So what are these events good for? 5, 10, 15. I'd say it's the cheapest way to get from 15 to 17 stars. And then it's the cheapest way, 17 and on. 1+1, it's pretty good for mules. because when you Star Force stuff on your mules, that's how you get Legion raid power. That's how you get extra Legion coins a day. So I last 1+1 event, I went through all of my mules that had Pencilaria gear on it, and I got it all to 12 stars because I want Legion coins. I need those to buy coupons and to upgrade my Legion. So I'd also say 1+1 is good for getting gear to 15 stars because you skip 10 and 11. You'll be at 12, right? And then the last one is 30% off. This event is slightly worse than 5, 10, 15 unless you have a lot of fodder gear. And it's also good for getting to 15 stars. I'll explain why fodder gear makes a lot of sense here for 30% off. So we got two examples. They're both level 200 equipment, right? There's no star catching, no safeguarding. They're both trying to get to 21 stars. One's going to be on a 5, 10, 15, the left one, and the right one is going to be on 30% off. So on the left, actually, let's just scrap that. Let's actually just look at the blue, dark blue circle squares that I made on the bottom left of each picture. So right here on 5, 10, 15, you boom a lot less. 3.53 than 6.51. If you are star forcing on 5, 10, 15, on average, you're just going to blow up less equipment because you're going to skip the 15 because you can blow up on 15. Just having 100% success means a lot sometimes. So if you don't care about booms, you can go 30% off because if we look at the average meso stat, right, the meso cost, it's relatively the same. But if you do care about booms, in this case, it's a level 200 piece of gear. That's arcane stuff, right? You don't want to boom that crap because you worked really hard to get it. That's the difference between the two events, essentially for cost. I wrote a few notes here regarding star forcing. There's a % chance to boom. It starts at 13 stars. Safeguarding, you can safeguard, which means you get rid of the chance to boom, but it costs more money. Like a lot more money. It starts at 13 as well, and it stops at 17. Fodder gear exists. The purpose of fodder gear is to get irreplaceable gear to get higher star force. I think I worded this poorly. Basically, if you don't want to blow up your Absolab gear because you worked hard to get it, right? Irreplaceable here. You worked hard to get it. You want to use the fodder gear to throw stars onto it, right? So here's how transfer hammering works. Transfer hammering is the process of moving fodder gear to irreplaceable gear. You lose 1 star upon transfer hammering a fodder gear to a permanent gear. Star Force stat gain is per equipment level. So when people say you want to do it at certain points, you want to stop Star Forcing your fodder gear at certain points, it's because of the stat gain per level, right? So fodder gear should be stopped at intervals like 16% or 20, I mean, not 16%, 16 stars or 21 stars to min-max the stat gain based on the gear, right? Because you're going to get 1 extra star, because say this, you have fodder gear at 16 stars, you put it onto a new piece of gear, it's going to go to 15, right? But because of that 10 level difference, you're going to get the 16 and 17 at the higher level rather than the 16, 17 at the lower level. So it's really sweaty, but people do it for the sake of making sure that the permanent gear is going to be as best as it can possibly be. So a quick note, 30% off Star Forcing event does not reduce the cost of safeguarding. It's pretty BS. It should, in my opinion, be included, but that's just the reality. It's just not included. So if you're going to, remember how I said no booming? Like if you don't care about booms, 30% off is better. It also implies the fact that 30% off doesn't reduce the cost of Star Forcing because it just doesn't. So it's going to cost more if you do anyway. So why not just go 5, 10, 15? So flames also don't transfer over via transfer hammer. And then the transfer hammer carries a potential up to epic. So if you are transfer hammering a piece of gear to another piece of gear, say they're both legendary, right? The result product would be an epic version of the weapon or the item that you were trying to upgrade. In my opinion, it sucks. But we got to use it because we got to use what we got. All right, so that's enough about gear. Let's move on to account. I don't exactly have a slide on the number one, the main, because I think it's pretty simple. It's obviously your bread and butter of your account. It's your main. Um, it's the most important character on your account. And what's most important about your main is that it should receive most of your funds. I think a lot of people get a little too diversified in their accounts. They get a little too like, I want to go do this on this account, I want to go do that on that account. But in the end, if you're playing on your main and you're only playing on your main, you will actually find a lot of success because usually, if your character can make a lot of money via bossing and via farming, that's the easiest way to get funds in MapleStory. It's Reboot. It's designed that way. Who to play? This is a very general question that people like to ask on, especially the MapleStory subreddit. No one cares who you play. Just have fun. If you think a class is cool, right? Just go ahead and have fun. I like playing Evan because I thought the class was cool. I tried Ilium. I didn't like the class. I didn't think it was cool after I got the 5th job. You can go around and have your fun with like trying things out, but in the end, if you don't like who you play, you're gonna just not like the game, and that's not the goal of this, right? I want you guys to play the game because it's a game I love and I want to share with you guys. So that's enough about the main. Let's talk about mules because it gets a lot more confusing. All right, so mules, usually they're either going to be 140 or 200. And the purpose of this is 6k Legion and 8k Legion. 140 is the drop-off point for 6k. 200 is the drop-off point for 8k. Are there any questions about this? I feel like this might be a confusing part. Anyone? Like why these numbers specifically?
I hear the 210 number a lot.
210. Okay. So 210 is specifically about link skills, because link skills, Legion has certain level brackets on which your Legion block for the character will level up and be one block bigger. Link, for some reason, I don't know why Nexon did this, but they made the levels on different different benchmarks, different like checkpoints. So for Legion, it's like, what is it? It's like 60, 100, 140, 200, 250. And then for links, for level 1, it's 70, 120, and then 210. It's very random, but that's why people talk about 210. Martin, I saw you unmute. Did you have a question?
No, I was just going to say that I like the gear that you're showing. Like it makes sense
Okay,
for
okay.
mules.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. All right. All right, so let's talk about gear for mules. Actually, let's talk about priorities first. I want to get into that first and then leave the gear for last. So priorities for mules, right? Mules are just like a general overlapping idea for your Legion and Lynx. But we want to have priorities, right? I think that you should get the links that are relevant for your class. And the example that I have that makes a lot of sense for a lot of people is if they're playing like a mage, you should probably run Mihail Link, level 2, because it gives 100% stance, 100% uptime. If you play the game and you play like a character like Adele and like a warrior, you're going to be like, you're blessed with the fact that you don't have to get knocked back by enemies. Say you're doing Choo Choo Hamudo Party Quest, right? You go up to one of the platforms and a monster knocks you off, and then you're in the water. I'm sorry, I keep on using Adele example. Warriors, for example, don't have to deal with that crap. This stuff is a quality of life thing. So if it's relevant to you and it makes your life easier, I recommend going for it. And then the next one is damage over experience links for training. And links and Legion in a way. Because let's take this as an example. You are at Robos. You kill 3 Robos in 3 hits, right? If you can kill them in 2 hits, that saves you a lot of time, and you're probably going to get more XP per minute than if you ran 10% more XP from a Mercedes link, or 15%, I think. I don't know which number it actually is, but by killing more things faster, you get more XP. It's just more intuitive that way. And also, you see bigger number, you're happier. The serotonin kicks in. All right, so let's talk about gear. This is something I want to read this off by verbatim. I've seen a lot of mule characters asking for carries for CRA, Apps Lab weeklies, Lotus Damien, etc. I want to bring an anecdote from my friend who is AK Legion. That means all 40 characters in his Legion, right, are level 200. And on the right is the gear that he used. We got Pencil Air, Zac Eye and Face Accessory from normal Zac, Chaos Horntail, Ring, Earring, and Pendant. No epic gear, if you can see. No flames, right? Or like he didn't put any effort into the flames. And then 10 Star Force everything. This is all you need. And also, if you can notice, the class that he's playing is Ilium. Ilium is known for not being that good of a class, but like you can get by with just this. You don't need ABSO, you don't need CRA, you don't need the good stuff in life, right? You can get the extra stuff if it's on your own volition, but I don't recommend it because it might be a waste of your time and maybe someone else's time if they're trying to carry you something. Like you don't want to do normal mag prequests to get a shoulder that you're not going to be able to even Star Force, right? So actually, I think it is Star Force, but whatever. All right, so let's move on to Legion. Don't disregard the fact that I had researched this. I didn't know at the time, and I wanted to make sure, and I forgot to get rid of it on the slides. So Legion is a system, a really good system actually, where every single character that you make, up to 40, gives you bonuses. So Legion calculates your total level across 40 characters, right? And then based on that, you get to put those characters, based on what class they are, they'll get shapes, and then you'll put shapes into holes, right? Unga bunga, shapes into holes. Fun. You get stat, big number, fun time. So it goes up to 6K. That's probably what you care for now. It goes up to 8 and 10K, but that's like so out of the question right now. 6K is what you strive for. It's like the end goal, essentially. And then once you get sweatier, 8K is the real end goal. But let's talk about the stat bonuses. You can get all these in the inner grid, right? And all these in the outer grid. If you see something specific here, this shit says crit damage. This is boss damage. This is crit rate. This is monster XP. There's some really good bonuses you can get from here, right? And it's per square too. So let's look at an 8K Legion board. You get a lot filled out. You get all this crit damage right here. You get all this IAD. You get all this magic tech. You get all this int, right? You get all this boss damage and crit rate. And you can see right down here, grid bonuses. You get 75 int, 5 luck, 15 magic tech. Don't worry about the MP. 20 crit damage, 8 crit rate, 40 boss, 29 IAD. This is a lot of bonuses that you get just by playing the game in other classes, experiencing more of the game, right? Good system, in my opinion. Kind of fucking rough sometimes, though, because you just got to play more Maple. Sometimes you just don't want to do that. For instance, you get presets, by the way. So this is preset 1 from my friend who also provided it. Preset 2. Preset 1 is his bossing Legion, right? He has all the crit damage because it's just more generic damage. IED because sometimes a boss has too much defense, so you got to break through it, right? And then boss damage, just generic damage for bosses, for bossing, right? Training Legion, bonus XP and crit rate. He actually wanted me to mention this. The reason why it's in so much crit rate, not like maybe buff duration or like I guess buff duration is really the only one. The reason why he has so much crit rate is because if you're not 100% crit in MapleStory, the game heavily relies on you critting so much that you lose a lot of damage if you're not critting. So highly recommend. If you're not 100% crit rate, try and slot it in somewhere here or in your hyperstat. Alright, so Legion priority. Sorry, gotta drink water. Talking a lot. Quick notes from me. Do what is fun. And do what you think you need the most. This guide won't tell you like what are the hard classes, what are the good classes, right? Because in reality, Legion is like a really long-term goal. Like, it's not something you're like, oh, in 3 days I'm gonna get from 3K Legion to 6K Legion. I don't even think that's possible, right? It's probably really unhealthy too. So take it slowly, do what you find fun. If this class looks interesting to you, play it, have fun, right? You don't have to get it to 0 to 140 in a day. You can make it a process. Like, hey, like, I want to do just like 5 levels on this. Like, I'm not doing anything right now. Might as well just hop onto the arc and then get like 5 levels on it at like rashes. You can just do whatever. Take your time, right? Hey, I found Ilium really fun, but I didn't want to main it. I had a good time just experiencing the class. I also got to know a bit more about it, so if I ever run into like an Ilium in a future bossing party, I know what they do. So let's talk about the priorities in terms of like the bonuses that you get. So since you guys are probably going to be building your Legion, you probably won't have max crit rate on all your characters. Who does, right? It's pretty difficult to get there. So I recommend that you slot in crit damage always, right? Crit damage is always like nice to have. Crit rate though, if you're not critting, there's no point in crit damage, right? Because you're not actually utilizing the crit. You're not critting, so it's gonna result you in nothing. So crit rate's always good. Crit damage is next. For training, it's going to be main stat and secondary stat, but for bossing, it's going to be IED and boss. If we're talking about like there's 2 parts of this actually. I want to roll back to this. So every character that you make will be a block, right? It'll be a block on screen. Say this one right here. It's going to be a block on screen. But when you put it down on the board, you get the grid bonus. But when you put it down on the board as well, the character itself comes with a bonus, which is actually in this left box right here, right? And here. So what is this 80 strength coming from? He's a battle mage, right? Where is this 80 strength coming from? Where is this 80 int coming from? Where's this 80 dex coming from? I know exactly where this 80 dex is coming from. It's coming from a level 200 Kane. Every character in the game has their own... Every class in the game has their own specific Legion bonus, right? And so you'll want to look that up and find out where to go for that. And also, this is like really confusing once you get so many slots. So I left a Legion grid solver here. So you can input how many classes you have, what spaces you want to fill out, and it'll actually just, through the power of mathematics, it'll figure it out for you. So coming back here, Legion priorities. Other bonuses. Because not all this is all damage. This one it says here, it's like HP grants a 70% chance to gain blank. There's also one called minion duration, right here, right? So your summons last longer. These are the under bonuses. They're not exactly damage, but they are convenient sometimes. So do what you think is fun. Do what you think you need. Same thing. And I bring it up. I left this here, personal notes, for people who probably want to read it later. Legion is a long-term goal. Have fun with it. Don't stress out about it too much. All right, moving on to links. First off, any questions?
Let's say if I'm very indecisive and I level a whole bunch of different characters and still have no idea, is there a specific order that you would recommend doing these in? Because I have no idea which main I might want, and jobs change a lot at 200, right?
So you're talking about mains, right?
Yeah, based off of this, do I have to choose a main right away and then switch, or would it be better to get it to 200 first and then make the decision to main it?
So there's like 2 points of views that I have with this. There is the Legion is kind of a drag in a way because it's like it takes a really long time to get to 200 for any character, and not a really long time, but it takes a bit, and you don't get to where you want to be. Like some classes like become a whole new class at 5th job, right? Like Battle Mage, for example, is a class that is a piece of crap pre 200, post 200, it's pretty cool. Hero, for example, same thing. Piece of crap pre 200, it's really cool after 200. I recommend YouTube videos for that. There's a guy who does YouTube videos for classes and shows their 5th job skill showcases, right? So you can see, that's actually how I chose Evan in a way. I was like, ooh, cool dragon, right? I saw cool dragon. I was like, this is dope. I want to play it. I played it. Thank God I enjoyed it. But it's a dilemma that a lot of players fall under, so it is completely understandable. and I don't exactly have a recommendation for you on how to approach it. But what I did for me, because I have 205 characters because I swap main so many times. But um, what really helped me was I wrote down a list of characters that I wanted. I looked at their videos, crossed them out, and then I came to like a two conclusion, which was Ilium and Evan. I asked people about it. Like I went to their discords. I asked, like, how do you guys, not exactly how you guys feel about the class, but I read up on the classes, right? Like how they work, what are their combos, what are their training methods like. I looked up like training videos for them. I looked up bossing videos for them, and I felt if it felt like I was able to like connect with the class more and see what I actually wanted. So that was my approach to it. I hope that answers your question.
I'm sorry.
What's up,
Are
Yanni?
you sure? Are you sure taking Legion as a long-term objective is good? Because getting to 6K Legion, like before actually going into your main, is actually it's gonna make your life a lot easier. Like you can get like a lot of buffs, etc., etc. You know, like for example, I'm doing that. I'm not actually like training that much on my main, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
focusing more on getting to 6K Legion. I mean, right now I'm almost like 4K almost. It took me like 1 month or something.
Mm-hmm. I do understand your approach. I do understand it. It makes sense. That's like, hey, if I want to main a class and I want it to go as easily as possible, why not just do 6K Legion first, right? That's basically your point of view, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. So there's two benefits that I see from it. Your main is easier to play. You get more Legion coins. The issues I see with it is that, let's see.
You're gonna be broke, and your main is gonna be starved of arcane force, so you can't actually farm.
True. It's like when you play MapleStory, I like say Arcana
I mean,
and Beyond.
I do play on my main. I do the dailies
Mhm.
and all the weeklies and stuff like that. But I don't usually like train a lot.
So I have let me get into the negatives really quickly. I understand your point of view though. It's not for everybody. People sometimes want to play one class. I have a friend who started playing a year ago. He is a 260 Night Lord and has like 3K Legion. He used to be a 250 Night Lord, 700 Legion. Keep that in mind, right? That's pretty bad, right? But he never actually ran into too many issues because when he was playing on his main, right? He didn't really care about using the Legion 2x coupons, like the EXP ones, and he only focused on the Meso ones. So his main was actually really, really strong. He was actually stronger than me by that point at 250. And I was like 254, I believe. I was something like that. But he only focused on getting the Meso ones, right? He did his Legion dailies to make up for that fact. It's a different approach that people take. I don't think any is inherently wrong, but if you want to do access late game content, right? Your main has to be strong, and it doesn't get strong from just Legion. It gets a buff from Legion, right? It's not turbo boosting your account, but it does help. Your main's gear is the most important. That is how you get the strongest bonuses in the game. So let's take this for example, right? Legion, Magic Tech. He gets 15 Magic Tech for having all the slots filled out, right? He gets 20 crit damage. This exact Legion bonus can be taken care of by 2-line crit glove and literally 15 or 17 to 18 star force. A 1 star from 17 to 18 and a 2-line crit glove would basically be the same thing. So Legion helps, but it doesn't boost your character significantly. So actually, give me one moment. Where was that?
I also want to add something too about this discussion.
Yeah, what's up?
The reason why it's also better to prioritize more of your main than like working on Legion is because there's usually events to like level your Legion mules,
True.
like rewards
Mhm.
that can make the process easier. So you're just better off. Like it's okay to work on Legion, but it's better off that you put in more effort into your main because you'll get more gains in the long run, and then just take advantage of events to help you level your Legion.
Thank you, Martin. I agree with that point. It's your approach, man. You can play the game however you want to play it. I'm not saying you're wrong. Like that's the last thing I want to say. Just know that the cons are that your stats of your main, if you want to access late game content, will be delayed. That's all I want to let you know.
Yeah, I know that, but I also know that when I get to that time when I actually want to get to 250, it's gonna be like a lot easier.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have Legion coins
Yeah.
up the wazoo. You'll be chilling.
It took me like a fucking lot to actually level up 0 to level 200, but I know that it's worth it because that 10% of XP and that 10% of IED is gonna help me a lot in the future.
Yeah, you're going with the delayed gratification approach, and that's perfectly fine. It's up to you. All right.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question? I feel like it would. Sayu, do you have a question?
I just wanted to ask a little bit as far as if we were to take the other approach. There's a lot of keywords that I hear some people do right and some people do wrong. For example, the keyword of whether or not you should do certain things on your main, like doing monad on every single one or not.
Oh,
Basically,
yeah.
depending on making the clear distinction in your mind of what it is a link mule and what will be a main, because doing chaos or unlocking pink bean on a mule might not really be beneficial compared to unlocking it on a main.
Yeah.
It might just be more time consuming.
I do have something to say about this. So going back to the mules and the gear, right? My guy got AK Legion, this piece of crap gear, right? Like looking at it, there's no titles. It's the all for one medal or the next legend medal. It's Pencilair, Zac, Chaos Horntail, Star Force. That's it, right? So if you can get to AK Legion with just this, you're well off. I was also here's the thing about Legion. The more you do it, the easier it gets. You get more passive bonuses across your account. It makes it easier, right? So, the people who do the extra step and go the extra mile, there's a guy named Sacrix. He's a guy who's going for 10k Legion. Subdean, you can just mute up, and then if you want to pop in, ask any questions. This is also recorded, so you can watch the video later. Sacrix is a guy who is going for 10k Legion on Bara. And in Bara, it's a normal server, so he has a frenzy totem. He's going for 250 on 40 characters, so he can get 10k Legion. That's a lot of time commitment, right? This is a perfect example because he got one droid heart on every single character that he plans to get on to 200 to 250, right? Because none of us will probably get to that point. We don't need to go that extra step. We don't need that. It's over the top. It's overbearing probably on your enjoyment of the game too. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, and also it's a lot easier to go to 250 on other servers because they can just pass on their gear,
Yeah, but we're talking reboot, so let's move on. So we got links. This is something that a lot of people get confused on. So like Legion, priorities. Do what you find fun. Do what you think you need the most. And refer to other guides on difficult / piece of crap classes. Here are some lies that people tell you about Legion that I wanted to share with you. So you don't need XP links first. Some people are like, dude, when you start the game, you gotta play Mercedes. You gotta play Aaron. You gotta play Evan because they give you XP. It's nice, but it doesn't have to be the way you guide yourself in the game. You also don't need level 3 links immediately. With the events that have recently come out, it's pretty easy, or rather, it's much more accessible to get them because you don't need to play a piece of crap unfunded 200 character to 210. You don't also need every link in the game, and you also don't need 2 sets of links per multiple characters because now you can transfer links 10 times a day. How many times do you need to transfer links for you to need 10 times? So let's talk about the XP ones a bit. XP, I talked about it a little bit earlier with the Mercedes link. Damage over XP. You kill stuff faster, you get more XP. Basically it. It does add up over time, but that's for later game, right? When you get 20% of totem. Getting an extra 5% on that totem kind of helps sometimes, right? So it's 25. It feels pretty good. If you're adding a lot of hours, you're cutting off hours and hours then, right? So XP links are definitely good, but you don't need them immediately. Let's talk about defensive versus offensive. This is purely for bossing. So You can't do damage if you're dead. That's the pros of a defensive Lynx, right? The cons is you don't get XP, you don't do any extra damage, so why live, right? But the argument for defensive Lynx is if you're dead, you can't do damage. There's no point. So what are defensive Lynx? Let's talk about resistance Link skill. Sadly, it's one of those Link skills where you need to level up 4 characters to utilize the max potential, which is level 8. So that means 4 characters at level 2. Since we got resistance, we're talking Battle Mage, Wild Hunter, Blaster, and Mechanic. And then I believe one other, Xenon, but he doesn't count. Then we got offensive Lynx. You do more damage. You have an easier time training mules, but in the cons and in the case of bossing, you die easier. The case could be argued that if the boss is dead earlier, you don't have many. You go through less phases of it, you die less, but who cares? We're talking about defensive versus offensive. It's pretty convenient to have defensive ones. You'll run into mechanics later into the game where sometimes it's just BS, and sometimes a random boost of HP or invincibility can help you out a lot. So let's move on. Lynx examples. So we got training Lynx on the left. If you can tell, most of these are damage. We got Wild Rage, 15% damage. Keen Edge, I believe this one's 25 all stat and 15 magic attack and weapon attack. Elementalism, it's 10% damage. Judgment, 4% crit damage. Yada yada, it keeps on going on. And then we got Rune Persistence and Elven Blessing. These are EXP related ones. And then for bossing Lynx, we got Fury Unleashed. It's Demon Slayer's 3rd level Link. It's got 15 boss damage. We got Light Wash, IED, right? These are just bossing related ones. So you want to kind of build your character, in my opinion, around the training Lynx for your main to start out, right? Because when you have higher levels, you start unlocking higher meso areas. You unlock more like boost node slots, right? You just get more nodes along the way, so it's just better for overall progression. And when you actually start bossing, doing lucid stuff like that, it does help out. It's not going to be a turbo boost to your damage, but Lynx are a nice way to take a break from your main and progress on a different character and try it out. So that's much about the account. This is a big one. I know Jamie likes this slide. Guild contributions. How does a guild grow, and how can I contribute to the guild? So let's talk about Flag Race. It's an obstacle course where you race against the clock. There are 3 maps that go through a weekly rotation. There are many guides out there on how to do it, right? So I actually linked one here. It's this guy's channel. He has a he doesn't do voiceover, but he just has like stuff that pops up on screen, little cards that say like, here's a shortcut. You should do this to make sure it goes well. And the end result of doing this is that it helps the guild gain skill points. If you look at the right, let's see, 5, 0, 15, 15. Let's look at the one on the right first. We'll go right to left. 30 minutes, 30 crit damage, 60-second cooldown. 60-minute cooldown. Jesus Christ, for the 60 seconds, I'll be broken. 60-minute cooldown, right? So for 30 minutes, you get 30% crit damage. This is freaking nuts. So to take this in consideration, 8% crit damage on your gloves is the equivalent of like 15% all stat, right? Or main stat. So we take 30 divided by 8, we get what, like 3.8 or something, some arbitrary number that I can't think of because I can't do real math in my head. We get a lot of stat. The next one for the guild, we get 30% just flat damage. That's pretty nice. And next to that, we get for 10 minutes, 10 boss damage and 100-minute cooldown. We'd want that to get to 15 so we can get more uptime, less cooldown, right? This helps everybody in the guild, by the way. And you can use it whenever you want, every 60 minutes. So you use this for bosses, you use this for training. If you can't do enough damage to one shot, you can pop the first one, hard hitter. Then when this is down, you pop for the guild. And then because they're both 30 minutes, right? And 60-minute cooldown, the other one's going to be back up by the time this one's up. So you just cycle them, right?
So
what's up, Si?
This might be a very, very noob question, but where do you access these skills in order to use them yourself?
Okay, so when you open up the guild tab, right? there will be a banner on the left that you can click, and it will say Guild Skills. Right, you click it, and then this section right here on this this picture right here will be in the halfway point of the screen. Like in the middle of the screen. You'll see these 3 skills. So it'll be Guild Skills banner. You click that, and then you'll see these in the middle. And then you can actually bind these, which is pretty nice. You can bind these to your keyboard. So these are really good boosts to have. If you're gonna do, say, HMAG and you're struggling, pop these bad boys. You're gonna get 30% crit damage, 30% damage, right? Helps you out a lot. All right, moving on to Culvert. It is essentially a DPS test. I'm sure if you guys have played previous events, there's been a few of these in the event halls where you just beat up on a dummy, basically this. There are a few caveats though. The buffs do disappear upon entry to the waiting room, right? So you roll in with this bad boy popped, it's gonna go away, right? There is a waiting room that gives you 2 minutes to buff up, right? And then you have 2 minutes to fight the actual boss itself. So when you wait in the 2 minutes, you can actually go whenever, but it gives you 2 minutes to buff up. You can't use these guys because top level guilds would just be able to have top level skills and then be able to abuse that. So they make sure that everyone's on the same playing field. You can't use these, but you can use every other single buff in the game. So you have 2 minutes to fight the boss. You basically just stand on the right side and then just blast it as much as you can. This helps the guild gain skill points. All right. Flag and Culvert are the big 2 ones. You guys want to do these as much. You only have to do them once a week, by the way, to calculate your score, and that's it. So it's really nice to have. It's really nice to do, and it helps everyone out. If you're bad at Flag, it's okay. I'm bad at Flag too. I literally sometimes get 100 points. I actually usually get 100 points. You can get up to 1,000. If you want to practice, you can go here to get better. I'll be doing the same. But this one, since so many high-level guilds have high-level DPS players, like this one is where we can compete the most because we're pretty casual. So weekly mission points. This is a new system that they added, and it's basically like a solo way to help add to the guild. You get 5 weekly mission points per person, right? Your guild will total them up at the end of every week, and then you'll get up to 10 skill point distribution for it. So you can either kill oh my god, I'm trying to click. You can either kill 25,000 mobs, which actually really isn't that much. If you pop a totem, you're done with this in like an hour. Or 400 boss points, or a mixture of both, right? So you can kill like 6 weekly bosses, and then you can kill like 5,000 mobs. We don't know the exact number of bosses, by the way. I'll explain that later. 5,000 mobs equals 1 weekly mission point. 80 boss points equals 1 weekly mission point. Weekly bosses give a varying amount of boss points because Nexon never clarified their crap. This helps with guild skill points. This is pretty easy. It's a solo thing. These are actually all solo things, right? Flag race, you just on the 30-minute mark of every hour, you just go in and do it. On Culvert, literally join whenever you want. That's it. For this, literally kill stuff and then kill bosses. Weekly bosses, by the way. So that is Hard Hella, HMAG. You know the deal. All right, I want to go into etc. Random stuff that I wanted to talk about. But let's, Diamond, what's up?
So for flag race, you only need to do that once a week, or
Yes, sir.
like does it take your highest score?
Takes your highest score. You can do it once. You only need to participate once a week, but you can do it literally. You can practice it any time of the day. And then you can enter any time, as many times as you want at the 30-minute mark.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for clarifying that stuff. I really appreciate these questions. What's up,
Recently, I noticed that on Flag Race, it says that it takes 1 weekly mission point to enter now. Is that right? Or
Mm-hmm.
Same with
Okay.
Culvert.
So, basically, the reason why they did that, they made it so that you need 1 weekly mission point to join, is because you can technically run a guild by yourself by having 40 accounts or like 200 characters, right? Like you say you and 5 friends with 40 characters, right? That adds up to 200, right? You hop on all these random mules and you just do Flag and Culvert, right? You can be a top guild if those mules are strong enough, right? But the reason why they make it so that you need 1 weekly mission point is because they want you to be actual active players. They want to make it so that you actually kill stuff off the side. You're playing the game elsewhere, right? To actually participate in a guild. So dead characters can't just randomly hop on and then flag race and culvert. That's the purpose of it.
Sorry, just to clarify, do you actually need a weekly mission point for Culvert? I don't think you do, right?
I'm not exactly sure, but I'm gonna trust Jamie here. I mean, might as well.
Pretty sure
You're
you do.
gonna get it anyways just by playing the game. So, like,
Okay.
yeah, like when you cap, you kill 2,000 mobs, right? You're already like almost halfway there to a weekly mission point. You cap 2 times a day. Say you just do flag at the end of the week, you'll definitely have your weekly mission point by then. Let's talk about etc. Boss etiquette. This is the one that a lot of people see in the guild chat, and I want to talk about because it's a pretty stupid topic overall. Because inherently, you just want people to be nice about things, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. So let's talk about it. This is gonna be like the elephant in the room type deal. So asking for carries. In my opinion, as someone who does the carrying most of the time, all I want and most other people want is for the people who are getting carried to just be considerate. Like, inherently, asking for carries is fine, right? But you got to keep in mind that the person who's carrying you is taking the time out of their day. Sometimes life gets ahead of them and they needed to go do something in like 10 or 10, 15 minutes, right? They don't gain anything from it usually. Like, actually, like 100% of the time, they don't gain anything. And if anything, there's actually negative consequences. So, say CRA, right? If I do CRA solo, I should make around like 100, 200 mil, somewhere around there. I don't know the exact number. I think it's like 160-ish on average, right? It changes with boss crystal price. But because the way that MapleStory is stupid, boss crystal price is divided by the amount of players in the party. So if you're carrying 4 people, you take that 40 mil you get from a boss, you only get 10 as your split. So it kind of sucks. That's why a lot of people like soloing bosses, because it makes them a lot of money. You got to be considerate. Sometimes DMT events coming up, you need meso. Sometimes you just got to understand. I'd imagine that most of you guys are fine with this. I'm just saying this for the sake of it. Let's talk about drops. It gets a bit confusing because bosses have different drop mechanics. This is something that you can look up. But generically, if you don't know, just relax on a rope, turn off your pet loot, and just wait. This is the easiest thing to do because you're literally doing nothing. And if you're confused and if it seems like nobody really knows what's going on or it wasn't announced, the carrier will probably tell someone to go pick up. Basically, how it goes. But general rule of thumb. Sit on a rope so your pets don't move around, and turn off pet loot. Do you guys know how to turn off pet loot? I'll take this. Oh, Diamond, what's up?
Oh, no, I was gonna say yeah.
Okay, so I'm guessing most of you guys know just from the silence. But that's basically it for boss etiquette. I'll probably touch on it later, but let's talk about time commitment.
I'm sorry, I've got like a stupid question. Is there any way to like turn on and off your pet like in an easier way than just getting into your inventory and turning it off?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
There is. Thank you for asking. If you open up your equipment tab and you go over to the pet section, there is a checkbox that says item pouch. Pet item pouch or something like that, right? If you check that, your pets will stop picking up everything.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so
Okay.
good question. Good question. Thanks for asking. That is something that a lot of people don't know. That's when people say turn off your pet loot, they just go into that menu and turn it off. All right, so let's talk about time commitment. This is every MMO and every game. If you don't have the time to play, right, then the game might be for you because the game gets pretty late game heavy in terms of content. Let's talk about XP you gain per totem for a bit. From the 240 to the 250s, right, you get 60 to 80% a totem. That's 2-hour commitment, and that's probably the amount you get with MVPs and a 2x. This obviously changes. I gave a range because some classes are better at killing at others. This might go down to 40% if your class really sucks at training. I'm talking about Dark Knights. 250 to 260, you get 20% a totem. I am 257. When I was doing 256 to 257, I was getting like 17% of totem, and I wanted to die. This is with just a 2x. If you get MVPs, you also risk losing your map because higher level maps are competitive. Let's talk about what's up,
Yeah,
Yami.
got a question. Yeah, like, can you explain me how does MVP works? Because I've been like reading a lot of people on the old chat that they're saying like, "Hey, MVP here," but I have no idea how it works.
Okay, let's talk about MVPs then. MVPs are XP coupons that people who pay money, a lot of money into the game, they get these, right? They get these coupons. It is considered an atmospheric effect. You ever popped a guild buff before? Like, you know those Dea's G pots that you get from like just being in a guild? Basically,
No.
okay, so atmospheric effects are when you use the coupon, it will impact the entire map. So MVPs are XP coupons that you can use for the entire map. It's a 1.5x increase, additive XP increase. So if you make 100 XP, you'll get 150 XP, right? So in the case of MVPs, right, how do you get them? They only exist for people who spend a lot of money in MapleStory. And they are what those people who spend a lot of money in MapleStory are doing are going out of their way to set up times for people to come, get the buff, and leave, right? So if you are confused about where to get MVPs and why people are talking about it so much, it's because MVPs are usually set at certain destinations because certain maps can't handle all the people in the map, right? So the common place you see is Mushroom Shrine. If you look on the map of MapleStory, I'll actually see if I can pull it up. MapleStory map. I don't know if I can do Victoria Island. Okay. Maple World. All right. Perfect. This is the wrong image I just clicked. Okay. This is Zipangu, right? Mushroom Shrine is in here. It'll be in giant text if you are confused on how to get there. Other places do exist for MVP maps, but this is kind of like a learn as you go situation because some of them are absolute trash. For example, there's one called Maya's House in Hennessy's. It's a random house in Hennessy's, but it's really small. And if you fit thousands of people in there, people are bound to crash, right? Mushroom Shrine is huge, and that's why people use it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So, MVPs, right? You should go to them on your mules and stuff because it's just free XP. Why not get it, right? But let's say 250 to 260, it's 20% totem with 2x XP. Let's talk about the money. This is actually really important. 600 to 800 meso per hour on a totem with a 2x Legion coupon and a wealth acquisition potion. People talk about WAFs all the time. I'll go into more detail about it, but let's just talk about the money, right? So we're talking Star Force, right? We're talking cubing. We're talking gear. It's pretty expensive to upgrade your gear, as you guys probably know. But let's talk about like the cost, the average cost. So for a 17 star piece of gear, it's 1 to 2 bill based on how lucky you are. And on average of a 21 star gear, it's 15 bill on average. I have 4 21 star pieces of gear. If we look at the amount of meso I'm making per hour, let's say 800 mil, right? 800 mil, 15 divided by 800, right? 15 bill divided by 800 mil. Let's just say I make a bill for hour to make it easy. That's 15 fucking hours. That's a lot of time, right? So to get late game gear, it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of money. But remember, it's not a race. Play at your own pace. Have fun. It's a lot of time. The game just takes a lot of time. Are there any other questions on this? Because I'm just going to move on because it's pretty simple. I'm sure you guys understand it.
I have an addition.
You we'll question first, and then we'll go into the addition.
I just wanted to add on about MVPs.
Mm-hmm.
Because something like I learned, I didn't know. Because I think, Yami, you know how like on the chat box, there's like those megaphones where you see like a message like, oh, MVP, like whatever. I didn't know this before, but it tells you like the channel, where it's gonna be, and then like XS, and then XX, and then like a number, and then like a number afterwards. I didn't know what that meant, but that meant like the time they're gonna pop it. So like I always thought that meant like how much fame they needed before they popped it, but then someone told me that it was XX, and then like just like the time, like the minutes. So I just thought I wanted to add that because I didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. What's up, Yami?
I'm sorry. XX means the hour or the
Yeah.
300?
XX is the hour. They leave it as XX because there are many different time zones being played at the same time.
Yeah, for
Alright.
example, if you look at your Maple Story right now, someone
Yeah.
just did one. MVP at Shrine at XS25 and Channel 19. So you would go to Channel 19, go to Mushroom Shrine
That would be in
at
3
the
minutes.
25-minute mark.
Yep,
And
that'd
then
be in
that's
3
when you
minutes.
pop it. So if you want to go and see what it's like, you can go now.
Yeah, they leave it at
Also,
XX.
you said
Oh,
that.
go ahead.
Some people will smega that they're doing an MVP, but they don't know like if it gives it to other people. If you look at the one right now, it says atmospheric. That's what gives it to everyone else. If you click on it and it's a single buff that's in your use inventory, that's a solo. Don't go to that.
Mm-hmm. Don't waste your time. You want to look for atmospheric.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people right now. Yeah, that's true.
Yep. All right.
All right.
So, any other questions? Are we good? Did that answer your question,
Oh,
Yami?
the addition.
What's up, Jamie?
Arcanes can be bought for 5 bill apiece with these new event shops.
Wait, can you say it again?
Arcanes? They can be bought for 5 bill apiece.
Arcane,
Unless-
like gear?
Yeah.
With
Well, not like the gear itself, but the droplets.
Oh yeah. 550 mil a piece, bro.
No. Like in total, for one piece of equipment.
Oh,
It's
true.
5
Yeah, they're saying all the droplets that you need
Yeah.
to buy with Mesos equivalent. To
I
that.
do not recommend this actually,
No?
because in future events, not in future events, in a future update, I believe it's Destiny, they're going to be adding droplets to general stores like in Leafree and Hennessy's, and you can buy them using the guild discount because they impact those store discounts. So it's cheaper. Does that make sense, Jamie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So guild buffs, right? Guild skills, right? The stuff we were talking about earlier on guild contribution. There's actually a whole list, a tree, right, of skills that you can actually get for your guild that just come with contribution, which is like just playing the freaking game, right? One of them is actually a guild discount for stores, general stores throughout the map. If you look at like Leafree and you go into the shop, you'll notice that some things are off price. Like you get a sale essentially. What Jamie was saying is that in the event store right now, the Meso shop of the event store, you can buy droplets. But I do not recommend doing this because in the future update, I believe Destiny they'll put those droplets for the same price into general stores. And because we get the general store discount, it'll be cheaper. So you are basically delaying to save Meso. If that's up to you,
Drop
though.
in the bucket compared to Star Forest.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
see where you're coming from. It does save quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Because it's 50 freaking mil piece. All right.
But you can also make that difference up by starring on event versus off event.
True. Let's talk about events. Let's move on because I don't want to hold you guys for too long. Events. They're gonna follow the same pattern. That's it. Events seem pretty confusing when you first look at them, but in the end, they follow the same pattern, and most of those patterns are on this list. That's about it. All right, moving on to familiars. This is actually a big topic because a lot of people don't know how the fucking system works, and I don't know how the system works because it's really confusing and it's a piece of crap. I hate the system. So in the Arcane River, monsters will stop dropping familiars at 230 content and on. Morass and on, excluding Celis for no reason at all. The tiers are the same as cubes. Common, or rather, actually just, there's a common tier, but let's talk about rare, epic, unique, and legendary, right? At the bottom left, I added a list of potentials that you can get. Upgrading them is very confusing, so I will go through it pretty slowly for you guys to understand. You will have a rare familiar that you get from drops. You get common and rare from killing mobs, right? You level up familiars by killing mobs. You can level them up to 5, right? And once you level up to 5, you can upgrade the tier. You upgrade by fusing commons and rares into the level 5 rare, and then you can level it up from there. It takes 100 commons or 50 rares because it's 100 total points, right? And commons are 1, 50s are rares are 2. You then can upgrade it on a chance, by the way. Like I think it's like 80% at epic, and then like 40% at unique. So you rank it up to epic, right? And then you get to open up the familiar info, and then you can get to roll lines for useful lines from your familiars. It's really confusing, but it's basically late game content in a way. So let's talk about what is useful for you guys, because you guys are starting off on probably on like more fresh accounts and don't have familiars. I also don't recommend going for unique, because you have to gamble a 40% and you have to chuck in so many familiars into it that you might just be better off rolling for epics, because epics have pretty good loot table, a pretty good table of stuff you can go for. So common, IED, drop. Rare, IED, drop. Better drop though. The IED is actually really important. If you don't have a lot of IED and you want to take on Vellum, Vellum not requires, but it's suggested and highly suggested that you go for 90% IED, right? So if you don't have 90 IED on your stat window, you can get it from these sources as well. So you can just, say you're at Morass, right? And you're killing stuff and you have like 100 common familiars. You can just open these guys up in your familiar tab and click on this like question mark and then open them up, and then hope to God you get IED 15%, and you can just roll that as a bossing familiar for a while. I actually run 2 of these because I have rolled a lot of epics and I've gotten absolute garbage because it's really rare to actually get something useful. So in epic tier, right, you get 3% attack or magic attack. You can get 20 or 30 IED. You can get 20 or 30 boss. These are really good, by the way. You can get large drop, which is really good, by the way, because it's 100% drop. And you can also get healing familiars. There's certain tiers of healing familiars. Remember the potential list. You can go check this out for yourself. There's a lot of stuff you can see in here that's pretty useful. Some bosses actually are... some of their mechanics are honestly negated by the fact they have healing familiars. Because if 6 people run 3 of them, you got 18 random sources of healing every few seconds. Pretty nice. So yeah, if you don't have IED, you can get one of these. But then, if you've noticed, if you open up your familiar tab, you only have 1 slot, right? You only have 1 slot. So how do you get more slots? You need badges. Badges unlock familiar slots up to a total of 3 slots. Badges also give very small stat bonuses, which you can see in this badge effect window. Holy shit, 1% max HP. Holy shit, 1% damage. Wow, this is crazy. So how do I get badges? You get them from familiars, from a set of monsters, right? So this is the starter badge at the bottom left right here, right? You have to kill certain monsters within the starter areas to unlock their familiars. You use the familiar, and then you basically unlock that monster in that set of monsters for that badge. So actually, let's pull up the badge list. I already had it open. Perfect. So let's go to the first one, the starter one. You only need to get a familiar from a snail, a blue snail, a shroom, and a red snail. Cool. Pretty easy, right? Those guys are pretty simple. When do I start collecting badges then? You got all these badges. What the hell do they do? They unlock more familiar slots, but then like, what to do with them? Oh my god. You got 1 badge equals a 2nd slot. You need 10 stupid freaking badges to get a 3rd slot. Alright, so what I recommend is that you complete the starter badge, right? This little guy right here. You kill snail, blue snail, red snail, and some shroom, right? You get the familiars for those guys, and then you get a 2nd familiar slot. So you can run an extra IED or a drop guy, right? And then you have to wait till 250 to unlock the Labyrinth badge, the Morass badge, and the Moonbridge badge, right? To get the 3rd familiar slot. In the list of resources, the resource I gave you, there's like a lot of badges you can go for, right? But these guys, or yellow, anything that's past easy is so hard to get. I recommend it is not worth your time. Only go for the green guys, right? And there's actually some greens here that actually are kind of a lie, right? Because this one has a yellow in it. It wants you to kill a demolisher. This is a mini boss, and you have to wait for it to spawn, right? Black Viking, you have to do a quest, right, to do it. I don't know how long it is, but for this one, you need to actually do Commercy, but you can only get one of these guys from doing the quest. So if you fail the quest, or you pass that point of the quest, or you've already done the quest, you can't kill the specific monster. So don't waste your time, in my opinion. Just go for 2 badges and just wait for 250, and then your life will be a lot easier. You're all right, Jay? Have a good time. All right, so that's familiar badges. It's not too hard. Just don't waste your time. For inner ability, I think we're gonna be running out of time, so I wrote this here. Go look up another guide. It's pretty simple. Don't worry about it too much. There's definitely so many resources out there. Just look up inner ability my class, right? All right, let's talk about some personal thoughts just to end off today. Multi-maining. I do not recommend it. There's not enough resources in the game for you to have multiple characters if you're gonna want to spend not too much time on the game, right? We have lives elsewhere. If you want to like sweat out the game like 4 or 5 hours a day, then you can go do ahead and multi-main. But just popping a totem enough on a day for your own character is 2-hour commitment a day. That's a lot of stuff. I don't recommend it. Kana Farmer. It actually requires a decent amount of resources to get it up there. I don't recommend Kana farming because most classes these days, because totems are so accessible, because they change the rewards point system for weekly bosses to give more. They give out a pretty decent amount. Monster collection rewards also counts. You can do Maple Story M for extra other stuff. So you don't exactly need a Kana. You don't want to spend like, you don't want a 17 star stuff on your Kana, nor do you want to legendary your accessories to get drop rate and meso gear. It actually requires a decent amount of investment. So I actually don't recommend Kana farming if you don't play too much. Looking stuff up. If you don't know and you don't want to bother people, there's hella resources out there. You can just look something up, be like, badge list, right? Stuff right there. This one's the ones on Google Docs are usually a little bit more like hard to find. So you can also just like ask the guild, like anyone got a list of badges, stuff like that, right? The next one I want to talk about is the fear of missing out dilemma. The game is all, I've said this many times, but the game is at your own pace. Enjoy it as much as you like. If you want to miss a day of dailies, go ahead. No one's gonna care, right? You're probably not gonna feel it either, because you're gonna do 100 more days anyways. It doesn't matter, right? I've definitely taken breaks. The reason why it took me so long to get to 250 and why I was a shitter for so long is because I took hella breaks. I had school, I had life, I had like an ex-girlfriend. I didn't want to play Maple Story at the time, right? I gotta get other stuff in my life done. Next one, DPS charts. So disregard all this because this is a meme, but KMS versus GMS. There's actually innate system differences between the way that KMS and GMS work for the way the characters operate. This biggest one is attack speed. Basically, to give you the simplified version, GMS can have faster attack speed than KMS, right? But remember, DPS charts are made from Korea. They're born and raised in Korea. So if they're running under different conditions, they're not exactly accurate for the way they work. Plus, they're unrealistic conditions. If you actually read into them further, they're like, you need to be, the sun needs to be facing this direction. You need to have graduated from this exact college. And if you didn't do it this way, you're going to die. That's basically the conditions that they set for each character. And it's pretty BS. So it's not exactly true. Play what you like. DPM charts, they're kind of fake. There was also a scandal, a funny scandal a few years ago where the guy who was making DPS charts lied about the I believe it was Ice Lightning. Yeah, he was an Ice Lightning main, and he was lying about DPM charts because he was the one making them, and he was like, I want my character to get buffed, so I'm going to make Ice Lightning's DPM look worse. And because Nexon's a piece of crap and they follow this stuff, and they're like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense, because they don't do anything on their own side. They're like, okay, we're going to buff Ice Lightning a bit. And then like Ice Lightning was buffed for like 6 patches straight, right? And then eventually he got figured out, and that was a scandal. So DPM charts, kind of fake. Don't listen to them too much. Spending NX, it's your own money. Spend money however you want to do it. Like, if you want to make your character look fucking cute, go ahead. But if you're gonna spend money and you want to make it worth your money, I recommend that you do pets. And not like 100 of them, just get three pets that you like, right? blast them up with skills because that's what's most important. And then because the skills are permanent. The skills are permanent. The pets are not. They're 90 days, 3 months.
Really? Because some of them say that like 90 days skill or whatever.
That is
So that's a
true.
lie?
But that's for the coupon that goes into your inventory. Once you actually use the coupon
Oh
and
my
put it on
God.
the pet, it's permanent.
Well, that's true.
That is true. It's such
That-
BS.
I'm so
Crazy.
mad.
Yeah, I
Yep.
thought it was I thought it expired too. I was like, oh, I gotta buy.
So if you're gonna go on MapleStory and you got like $10 left over, buy some pet skills. Right? It makes your life so much easier. I promise. I'm
Should
glad
we wait
that
for the permanent pets?
hell no, don't do that. Because
okay.
perm pets are rolled on wonder berries, and what wonder berries are is 4K NX for a chance to get like a perm pet, and it's like a 1% chance. 1% do happen, but if you want 3 permanent pets, right, you're gonna be spending so much money that you can spend the money on Water of Life instead to revive those 3-month pets, and it'll probably cost a lot less.
Yep.
Water of Life are $2.4. What the fuck am I saying? 2.4K NX. So it's $2.40, right? Wonder Berries are 4K NX. If you just have all these dead pets in your inventory, you're spending so much more than when you can just revive them for less money.
Can you also
You can
get
also revive
one
them for
water
free.
of
You
life?
also get it from reward.
RP?
Yep.
Yep,
Yeah.
you can get it from reward points, and there's a few people talking. What were you saying, Jamie?
Oh, you can rotate the free like Water of Life, so you can permanently like just revive one pet every month.
True. Let me give an example. My friend, the fucker who gives me all the pictures for this, right? It's pretty. You have to set this up in a way, right? Every month a pet will die. So that means he bought a pet January 1st, February 1st, March 1st, right? Every month a new pet will die because it's like overlapping each other. So every month he gets a free Water of Life. So every month he gets to revive a pet. So every month he has all 3 pets, but one's dying, one's getting revived. That's the strategy that Jamie's talking about. All right.
Kana farmers do it very well.
Yep, Kana farmers do that very well because they're not mains and people don't want to spend money on them. Next topic, being easy to work with. This goes in hand with the boss etiquette. So this is something that like is pretty common because we're all in an internet world and like we don't want to be considerate to each other. Sometimes you'll find people who are like, oh, let's do bossing. And then you guys get together and they don't fucking show up and you're like, what the hell, man? Like, where are you? And like, we're waiting for you. And then they make you wait like 20 minutes and you're like, what the hell? Being easy to work with is probably the numero uno of just being someone who's likable in a guild. People get booted for crap like this. Like, if you're just like a complete dick and like you're hard to work with and you make everyone else's life harder by asking extremely like difficult questions and like you get told a very realistic answer and you can't deal with it. If you go do an event with somebody, a party quest, and you don't show up or like you make someone wait like 15 minutes, people got other stuff to do. Just be easy to work with. If you can't go, you can't go. It's like, it's fine. Also ties into the FOMO thing. If you just miss out, just miss out. Not a big deal. All right. So that is about it for the seminar. Thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it. I want to thank my homies who helped proofread this presentation and for the Chads at ChadAcademy for helping set all this up. And for the people who just joined, there is going to be a video that I will be uploading to YouTube about this, and I will also be uploading the slides so you can watch along. So much appreciated. Thank you guys for coming. Are there any final questions?
It's about the Kana farmer. I mean, it might like I don't think everyone is here, but like essentially, what do you guys think if you already have like 40% meso obtain
Mm-hmm.
and you have a couple of legendaries ready for like you only need to red cube it for the meso obtain, like you think it's still worth?
I think it's
Making-
still worth if you've already got at that point. I'm
Oh,
just
okay,
saying
yeah.
if like you're like say you are a 230 character with like 2K Legion, right?
Oh, okay, yeah, because
And-
I also have like spider familiars from
Oh.
before they got
Oh,
things, so I
yeah.
have like 3 of them, and I don't think they increase my meso obtain anymore.
They don't.
Yeah, it's just the item, but they do give me item drop rate, which
Yes,
is
They
sir.
don't stack though.
Yeah, so you only
They
need
don't
one.
stack?
You only need
Oh,
one.
you only need one. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
If you have all 3 out, the defense means that they'll wear, like, if you notice in your top right, it'll have a number that ticks down from 2,000.
Okay.
The higher the defense, the slower that ticks down. So the longer you can have your fams out for.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh, that makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah, so for the Kana Farmer, just to clarify again, if you are like a 230 character and you have like 2k Legion and none of them are Kanas, right? And you're playing in current day MapleStory, Kana Farmers are not exactly necessary.
Okay. Do you know when they're gonna change, like doing their nerfification? Or
That,
get
that
rid
was
of it?
supposed to come up with the, was it Destiny update, Jamie? Do you know?
I'm not certain.
I'm not
Whenever
certain.
level 300 areas come out.
True. Whenever
Okay.
level 300 areas come out, it's so far in the future. It
Yeah,
also,
so far, yeah, I was saying
yeah.
that.
It shouldn't impact you guys. And if anything, if they nerf Kishin, what we're gonna hope for is that they buff other stuff. That's all
Yeah,
we gotta
that's
hope
fine,
for.
right? Stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be great, honestly.
Yeah. Plus, okay, so
Yeah,
if
my
you,
main.
you don't main Kana, this doesn't impact you. If you don't have a Kana, it
Yeah,
doesn't really impact you. So it should just be good news.
Oh, okay,
if
yeah.
anything, it's neutral or good news. That's all you should be
Yeah.
hoping for. So yeah, are there any other questions regarding anything else in the slides that I maybe didn't cover well enough, or you want like a recap on? All right, I'll take the silence as a yeah, we're good. So thank you guys for coming again. I actually really appreciate the turnout. I wasn't expecting this. I took the time to go through this, and I was actually a bit nervous actually doing the presentation, but everything seems all right. So thank you guys again for coming, and I think we can call it a close. So yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Yay! Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. I do have one question. Why is the last slide bottom right crossed out when it's true?
Oh, true. You're right. Let me look
Okay.
at it again.
Uh,
Oh,
What?
oh my bad. That's fake news. Let me update that.